Hey there, this is Matthew Jennings, and in this episode of Peachjar Extra Credit, I'm here with special guest Kristin Magette, and we are going to be talking about
Is it weird that I wave every time?
No, I think it's good. I think you should wave. I think you should definitely wave. We're going to be talking about like some simple things you can do if you're looking at ways to get creative about declining enrollment. So all that to say, stay tuned. Kristin, thank you so much for joining me here this morning. This is awesome. This is something you and I had a chance to talk about at Inspira back in St. Louis, and it just really hit home. You were actually like the second or third person I had talked to. I had talked to a principal or two just a couple of weeks before that had mentioned some interesting strategies they had heard about, probably all stemmed from this Gold Medallion Award-winning campaign.
Could be.
We are here at the Inspira conference in Overland Park here in Kansas City. So this is a breakout room that we've kind of taken over for the moment.
Yeah.
So if people start pouring in here, you'll know why.
It'll just be exciting.
It'll be, but join us. The more the merrier. But before we jump in here, and I know our time's kind of limited. I know you're super busy. If you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yep. So I have been in school PR for about 20 years.
Okay.
The first 12 and a half of those were working in my small town school district as a one-person shop communications director. I took a little tour outside into the private sector and worked in at CEL, PR Marketing Design, where we served school districts, nonprofits with public relations support. And then now I am with the Kansas Association of School Boards, and I work with districts across our state. So the CEL KASB kind of crossroads is really where this campaign lives.
Okay.
Because it started, our Gold Medallion campaign that we developed for enrollment marketing happened to be for a Kansas school district. So somebody I already knew that I got to work with at CEL and got to bring the whole CEL team to that effort, which was wonderful. From design to digital to, the whole 9 yards, and just thought partners, being able to brainstorm strategies.
Wonderful.
But I get to continue working with, or at least just having phone calls with, getting to watch up close what's happening in the district. Salina Public Schools in central Kansas is the district that won the Gold Medallion. So.
Well, and then we're all lucky because everybody here gets to benefit from that brain trust and all the strategies and the tactics that y'all brought into that campaign, which from what I've heard are very scalable, easy things that anybody can do.
It almost seems too easy to work. So
sometimes, which is the best.
If you just sort of try it and realize that it actually works. So where we were in the spring of 2022, actually kind of late winter, January, February of 2022, is that Salina Public Schools they knew that they had students in the fall of 2019, which would have been the year that ended with lockdown. The school year that ended with lockdown. So the fall of 2019, who had not returned by the spring of 2022.
We all experienced that.
Yeah. And, there were so many reasons why people left. And it really, your masking policy was a no-win because whether you were requiring masks or not, there were going to be people who were mad and people who were happy. And so what we knew was that there was a segment of families who more than likely still lived in the community. Not every single one, but I think any of us, if we're looking at our school districts and notice a decline of students who were there in 2019 who have not returned, I think we can reasonably assume that at least 75% of them still lived in the community. And maybe they found that their kids liked virtual, or that they found virtual to be convenient. Maybe they decided that they had always kind of thought about homeschooling, but thought I could never do that. And then they realized they could, or that they didn't hate it as a parent. Maybe it's a masking policy issue that
just policies in general that they just didn't agree with.
Right. And there was maybe a nearby district that had the other option. So in the case of Salina, they required masks according to the county mandate for a really long time. And some of the smaller outlying communities did not enforce that. So if you really didn't want your kid in a mask, you had smaller districts around where you could drive 20 minutes and drop your kid off. So as we kind of sized up what those things were, and of course, some people did move out of the community for jobs or whatever, but I think that's a small percentage. And the team in Salina, Jennifer Camion is the communications director, and Lynn Exline is a superintendent.
Shout out to Jennifer.
And her superintendent, Lynn. I mean, they were.
Shout out to Lynn.
We presented together at NSPRA. Jennifer and I did, and Lynn was in the room. And unfortunately, our videos didn't work, and so we just had Lynn stand up and kind of do her part of the videos.
How wonderful to have a superintendent there.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Clearly shows support for
and she is the sort of superintendent that I think when communications people hear her speak, they're like, why is it so hard for me? Why don't I have a superintendent like this?
That's so good.
But Lynn specifically said, I'm really concerned when I looked at the lists of the kids that were gone, and there was a list of what they finally got it whittled down to is 510 kids that were still eligible. So they hadn't aged out of
they're still
senior
school
year,
age appropriate.
And they, for all they could tell, still lived in the community.
And we all have access to a list like that.
Yes. It can be hard to. Data can be. You have to do some data wrangling.
You do, but it's there.
It's there. Internally, you don't have to.
Nope. You've got that.
It's very simple. To organize that. But what she realized is that they got a list of 510. Okay. And those families, we did focus groups and a lot of formal research. We also did a little, let's imagine what it feels like to be those parents. Yeah. And because we thought, what are the barriers to them coming back to school?
Journey modeling, essentially. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So what is it like for them coming back to school? And I put myself in their shoes. I've got, 2 kids who are school age. And I thought I would maybe be a little nervous or embarrassed. I wouldn't be sure. And I've never enrolled my kid in the same district twice. So am I re-enrolling or am I a new student enrollment?
Really thinking about that experience.
Yeah. Like that they probably felt a sense of separation, of uncertainty. They might worry about how their kids would be treated. Yeah, they might worry about maybe their children, as many adults and kids over COVID had mental health challenges that emerged that weren't there before. And maybe they're like, I don't know if my child who now has some anxiety around X, Y, and Z would get the support they need. Yeah. Maybe they're just wondering about what we call in Kansas CASHA is our state Activities Association eligibility. If their kid has been in another school, would they be able to play basketball? Okay. I mean, who knows the things that they're thinking or wondering. Okay. Yep. So we kind of got that. And then we designed, I think there are 5 or 6, maybe 7 strategies in this campaign. It's a very ambitious, comprehensive campaign. And all credit for implementation goes to Jennifer and Lynn and the district in Salina because
so cool.
Yeah, they are incredible.
Do you know, can I ask you, do you know about approximate size of the district? Do you remember that all?
About 50. Well, the community has about 60,000 people.
Okay.
And the district off the top of my head, I want to say it's
We'll put in the description for anybody that's wondering, but Salina's not a big town.
No, it's not.
It's not a big town here in Kansas. And, just in case you're wondering kind of where these strategies fit into your district, they really are things that I think anybody can scale and use anywhere. But just demographic wise, I'll put some of that information down below.
I would consider Salina a small city.
Yeah.
It's at the intersection of 2 interstates, and so there's a lot of traffic. It's a growing city. It's got a lot of industry. Tony's Pizza is made there.
Tony's Pizza.
Yeah, like the frozen pizza.
Oh, frozen pizza. Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. Like Tony's Pizza.
Tony's Pizza, like you buy in the
Tony's
supermarket.
Pizza. Yep.
Okay.
Tony's Pizza
there
plan.
You go. Shout out to Tony's Pizza.
Yeah. There's others too, but
so they had this robust plan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so as we were thinking about these families, we had the digital components. We had how do you create an enrollment experience. We had all of these things. But what really kind of stood out as we were building was what about a relationship campaign? Yeah. What about an outreach, a simple outreach campaign?
Isn't that what school really is? I mean,
right. So what we started thinking is everybody on this list of 510, everybody there almost certainly knew someone at the school. Yeah. And that's an advantage that our local schools have over any charter or online virtual thing is relationships. So we started thinking, what would it look like if we took this list of 510, we being the district, if the district took this list of 510, figured out who knew these kids, probably the principal. I mean, it was teachers, principal was like 99% of our plan, but I know that sometimes they had to get, they had to adjust to make teacher, sure.
Whatever, support.
Yep. And sometimes it would be if in certain cases, if the district knew that there were needs there, kind of complex needs, they would just have their student services team handle that outreach. Cool. But it started with a script for a phone call. So it would be like, Mr. Jennings, it's really nice to talk to you. It's been a crazy couple of years. How is Henley? I've been thinking about her.
Yep.
Okay, that's your daughter. I've been thinking about her. We haven't seen her in a couple of years. I bet she's getting tall.
Yeah.
And does she still love art?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's having a conversation that doesn't say, why aren't you in our schools anymore? Why did you leave?
Yeah.
It's simply saying, like, I care about your kid. And if that's not every district's brand promise, I don't know what is.
Yep, absolutely.
And as a parent, when you hear that, doesn't it kind of like, you feel your body, you're kind of reacting to that. Like, someone's asking about my kid.
Yeah, I like that.
And they remember, and they say, you know, and then so this short little email script would start with that. And then we've got some really good things happening now at our school. We have new accessible playground equipment and the kids love it. We also got rid of art on a cart. Now we have an art room with an art teacher, and we've finally been able to do a fifth grade band.
Yeah. 3D printers, anatomage tables, whatever that cool thing is.
Yeah. And so just, you know, and our things are going great at our school. I would love to talk to you. If Henley's thinking about, or if you're thinking about coming back, I would love to make that as easy as possible.
I love that.
And that's the end of the conversation. Can I send you an email? We'll follow up. Now, of course, as anyone who's ever worked in sales knows, or anything, you're
not going to close every deal.
No, and you're not going to get people to answer the phone and all of this. But so we had contingencies set up, but we really created these scripts and this workflow for every principal to follow. And it was, and then there was a postcard that went out that was handwritten that we also provided them a script.
Takes very little time to do that.
Very little time. And it was, hey, really nice talking to you on the phone. We'd welcome Henley back anytime. If you decide to do that, just give me a call. Here's my number. And we had a very short window of time because of when we were able to build this campaign and because of when Kansas counts the census data, which is September 20 is our census day. We had basically 3 months, and they were the summer months, or four months. You know, and so it was right, but principals are going off contract, and there's a whole lot of things that didn't. What the district realized, and I'm so glad that they did, is that this is a long game. Yeah. Relationships are not a transaction. Yeah. Those are opposite. Yep. We've got transactions over here. We've got relationships over here. And so every bridge that was built, even if it was just leaving a voicemail, sending an email, and no reply, every bridge that was built is valuable. Yeah. And what they managed to accomplish, the district, with their implementation of this comprehensive campaign, was that in that short window of time, they brought back 10% of the 510.
That's crazy.
Actually, exactly 51 students, which
51
students.
51
who had
students.
Been gone, who had been there in 2019 and not come back. They re-enrolled 51 students.
This is a small district in Kansas.
Yeah.
51 students brought back to the classroom.
And what I love about this strategy, this outreach, is that it is absolutely scalable. If you have 27 campuses or 127 campuses, you have also that number of principals.
Yes.
And this is it's really on a micro level, because you're dividing and conquering.
Yeah.
This is not happening.
It's not on one person's head.
No. And it's not a communications office. You know, so often we say effective communications is everyone's job.
Mm-hmm.
This is putting it in the hands of principals with the guidance they need to succeed.
Yes.
And the feedback that the district received, and we recorded some videos of the principals talking, was, you know, I wasn't sure how this would be received, just like any principal. Wasn't sure how this would go.
Yep.
Was pretty nervous. And I was just so blown away by the way it felt. The way that it felt to connect with people. There's one principal in particular, an elementary principal, who said, I was talking to a family and they wanted to come back, but their child had some mental health issues and they weren't sure how it would go. And because we knew that, we were able to put the supports in place so that when their child arrived at school, we were made it easy for the family. One thing that we really focused on with these scripts and with the training that the district did with their principals was that they were the concierge. The principal was the concierge.
Yeah.
If I've never stayed in a hotel like this, but I've seen it on TV or on, like, you know, in Pretty Woman, in the hotel where you can like say,
go get some dinner reservations.
Plan something nice for me tonight.
For me,
make it good. That's what we wanted the principals to do. So if a parent was like, you know, I'm really wondering if what we need to do about their IEP, the principal doesn't say, oh, well, you just talk to the special education department. The principal says, let me find out for you and I'll get back to you.
That's so good. Exactly.
And if there was a handoff. So like maybe it was a really complex special education. Maybe the IEP was really complex, or it was a 504 with medical devices or something. And the principal really isn't the right person to help. Then the principal would do a very intentional handoff to say, I'm going to introduce you to this person, and you know, can I put you in touch, or can we meet together?
Yeah, we're not just giving a phone number.
Right.
Here, go call Brian over in student services. Yeah.
Here's who you can expect to hear from, and here's how they're going to help.
Awesome.
And I'm still here if you need me.
Yeah.
So when we think about outreach, we think about relationships, and they did not stop. The district did not stop on Census Day. You know, it's not like, okay, well, that's the finish line.
Yeah.
Because there were still another 400 and some students on this list that they've continued to whittle away.
It's like you said, it's a long game.
Right. It is a long game. And why wouldn't you send a note around January to say Happy New Year? I hope that Henley is doing well.
Yep.
I hope you're staying warm this winter.
Yeah.
We would love to have you back in our school anytime if you want to tour or want to meet. Otherwise, enjoy your holidays.
Maybe even
whatever.
like back to school nights planned on XYZ or whatever.
Well, and giving
registrations
planning
open,
those seeds long before parents make decisions. Part of what was so hard about the short window we had is that parents had already sort of adjusted to what was going to be next.
Yeah, the next year. Yeah.
And one thing we didn't talk about that I didn't mention that I think is really important as a parent is when we were thinking about what might life be like for these families that have pulled their students out and are still home or still not, or still commuting or whatever, is what the kids might be doing. The kids are older, and they probably, I think about my kids during COVID, if we had kept them, they would have been, that was 8th grade, like the COVID year, the 2020, 2021, we had a freshman and a 5th grader. Okay. If we had pulled them out that year, the next year they would have been like, please let me go back to school. In fact, my freshman that year would have just revolted, would have said, no, I'm going to school. And so if you have younger kids that are aging up, the chances that they start to notice that they're missing out on the social experience at school, that their neighbor kids, if they're going out of town for school, they're like, I want to go to school with the kids on my soccer team or the kids at our church. And so really thinking about the pressure that kids might be putting on parents. And that what the parent might want to hear is your child is welcome back here, because they're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. One of the things that was really cool that adds to the outreach was we thought, as we were thinking about these barriers, that families might be a little nervous or have these sort of mental blocks to coming back, is that we thought, what if there was a family that really was engaged in the school that could be contacted family to family if there were questions. And that is just as good for new families that are considering
moving into the area.
Exactly. As it is people maybe who are nervous, and even the principal being able to say, or the administrative assistant being able to say, if you'd like to talk to a family, let me put you in touch with the Johnsons. And they had such success with that. The families that were the reps started saying, what more can we do? Can we please keep doing this? Can we be the rep again next year? And so that told us that it was a really meaningful role for them. They started thinking, how can we get little nuggets of good news about our school or our district in the hands of these reps who are just begging to talk to people about the school? They used those folks for testimonials that they were able to also have them post on, or invite them to post on Niche or Zillow. Or so they used these they created their own little influencers.
Brand ambassadors, absolutely.
And brand ambassadors. You're right.
Big corporations all over the world lean into that as a strategy. Yep. Why shouldn't we?
Right. Well, and I think what your point that you made, and which is why I get so excited about this work, is that it scales to this number of buildings you have. And frankly, if I think about myself when I was in Eudora in a one-person shop, if you want to start somewhere as a communications person, pick the principal is going to rock it. Yeah. And just start with that school. Yep. Like, just figure out what the list is in that school. Start there. You don't have to start big. You can start, every single outreach matters. Good point. And so think about those or find the school that has the biggest list or maybe the shortest list. Look for some quick wins and build from there. So it's doable.
This makes me think of one other thing too that I might throw out like as a challenge. Like, if you're going to roll out the red carpet and make these personal connections with families that have left the district, maybe as like a challenge too, additionally to that campaign, like make sure principals like are reaching out to current families as well. And I'll give an example. I got a call last year, and it was the principal at my kid's school. And she said, "Hey, Mr. Jennings, I'm just calling about Denver." I'm like, "Oh no."
We all get those.
He's a sweet little boy. Like, what happened? And she's like, "I just want to tell you that I caught him on the playground today. I observed another child who was really distraught and couldn't tie his shoes. And Denver went over, knelt down, and tied his shoes. I just wanted to tell you that was just a really beautiful moment, right?
I think educators witness those moments all the time.
All the time. Don't hesitate to call. Little. It takes nothing. That was it. And we were done. I was like, thank you so much. That is so amazing. She goes, have a great day. I just wanted you to know that he did a really nice thing today. It took
and she could have left that as a voicemail.
Totally.
We had at one point in our schools pre-posted postcards that had an image on one side, like just one of those, 5x7 postcards. Yeah. And it just said "good news from school," and our teachers could grab them anytime, write a note, and the school office would address it and put it out in the mail. Those moments cannot be overestimated. The value of them and what it means when you know that there's an adult at school that's on your kid's side or sees your kid. Yep. It's
huge. So roll out that red carpet treatment and that personalized outreach as much as you can to even your existing families.
Yes, absolutely.
Because even other, I shared that with other parents, right? Like, so maybe they don't get a call that year because their kid wasn't observed doing something, right? But they know that that's happening. Yes. They know people are getting those calls and that people are paying attention to that. And it still feels really, really good. So,
and honestly, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about like district award programs, and which are so important, and student of the week and teacher of the month. Let's not make all of our outreach public. That's all public.
Right.
What an opportunity to recognize students in the way that matters most, which is to their parent, just direct, to their family. Yeah. So
it's really cool. So it goes back to that whole thing about trust and culture, and this is we do want to wrap our arms around these kiddos and get them back into class, and it's just part of that whole overall thing. So I mean, I think what you've just shared this morning is incredible and chock full of all kinds of things that we can all pull from. Is there anything we haven't talked about, in regards to this campaign that
oh gosh,
you want to mention?
The campaign is just so cool. The way in particular, I mean, I was so proud of the way that the CEL team designed it. I was so excited to get it to the district in their hands and watch them go. But often anyone who's worked as a consultant, either freelance or knows that you provide things and sometimes they just don't move.
Yeah.
The district gets overwhelmed, or the client gets overwhelmed, or they don't have the courage to do something. And you just kind of scratch your head like, oh, if only. And Jennifer was like roadrunner with this, and she just went, and then she passed the little stop sign and she just kept going, meep, and just kept going.
Yep.
And so that has been really, really, really rewarding. But one of the things, and really one of the things in that was the way that they sort of folded staff communications in. They printed these like 8.5 by 11 signs. We had a slogan or tagline for this campaign of greatness grows here.
Love that.
And then we kind of riffed on it. What will your greatness be?
That's cool.
Your greatness is here, and all these different varieties. And we had these posters, these little mini posters that went out in all the summer packets to teachers, and they were encouraged to post them in their classroom. Some of them were in Spanish. So we had English and Spanish versions of this tagline, and teachers were posting pictures of themselves with the poster, or, find your greatness here, and kids are coming into the classroom. So those posters were everywhere on the first day of school, which I think is anytime that you can make it easy for staff to be a part of your messaging. Yeah. I think is just a way to, especially if they're excited about it, it's a way to build that momentum and get it into the hands of everybody else.
Yeah, you certainly need to include staff in this kind of a thing, and they need to know about that, and they need to be part of that whole thing. Just feel like that their input is valued, and that they have a place, like what we talked about too with like messaging before, and it's what do we want you to do, what is your role in this, and including them in that's going to make them feel like they're part of the whole process and a fabric of the culture of the district. So.
Well, and I think it would depend, obviously, every system is different. One of the things that we heard in the focus group with teachers when we were building the campaign was that they were extraordinarily proud of the quality of education in their district. Yeah. I'm married to a teacher. Actually, he got his start in Salina. Cool. Was his first teaching job. But yeah, so it's a small world. But I knew that Salina had good teachers, and I knew that they invest a lot in national board certification and those kinds of things. What I didn't expect was to hear such resounding, almost unwavering, like, oh, when someone's so proud that they're like putting their stake in the ground and they're kind of serious about it. Yeah. That's how their teachers spoke about their role in that district. That's huge. So I knew I had a hunch that putting that kind of signage, that teachers would run with it. Not every district is at that place yet where people would be like, oh, this is hollow. This is, they're just trying to put lipstick on a pig. Exactly. This isn't real. Yeah. But I felt really confident that the direction that the leadership of the district was moving things, that this would it would make sense. It would feel authentic. It would feel good. It feel good.
Well, I think this has been absolutely amazing. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to sit and talk through this.
Absolutely. I have joked before that I would stand on a street corner and talk about this and just hope that somebody would come by. So it's kind of nice to have a person.
Yeah, well, hopefully people are stopping by and watching, right? Because this is great. Yeah. When you had mentioned this in St. Louis at Inspira, a light bulb went off. And we have to talk about this and put it back out there for everybody else, because you're right. It's totally scalable. You can pick your threshold of pain. Yeah. If you don't want to go full district, pick that one or two principals that are just going to rock it. Yep. Work directly with them. Use that to finesse and hone, and then you can scale that out as large as you want. You've already worked through some of the issues. So, very, very cool.
I'm excited. I would love to see this in action in every community, mostly because I just know how valuable it is. It's old fashioned. Like we were building, digital ad campaigns, and we were saying, send a postcard, leave a voicemail. And those all work together. You can't, all of the strategies combined to have an award-winning campaign that works. But this outreach campaign, I think, really transformed the district's understanding of what communication could be and just how simple and brand driving it is. It is the experience that we promise.
And it's direct, and you actually have results. It's not like putting a billboard out on the freeway,
right?
Or QR codes on the city buses. Like, this is actual direct, targeted marketing.
I know your child, and I would love to know how they're doing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, this is, like I said, I can't thank you enough for taking time out today.
Thanks for the invite.
I'll let you get back to the conference here, the Canspra conference, which is awesome. You have a birthday gift to give out.
I
later
do.
For the
I'm
50th.
excited. Yeah, 50th anniversary of Canspra, of the chapter. Very, very proud of this chapter. The original, as I remember, the original NSPRA chapter award was called the Blue Ribbon.
Okay.
And the Kansas chapter was one of only 2 chapters in the nation to win it every year that it was done. And I think the last year that Blue Ribbon was like 2008, 9, 10, somewhere in there. But Canspra won it every year.
So awesome.
It's a long, strong chapter.
It's a very great chapter. Beautiful people, like, just so sweet and kind and just welcoming.
And fun. We're
fun. Super fun. And they have a new logo. So
new logo.
If you want to know what a great new logo looks like, go check out Canspra's logo. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you.
Hopefully you found this helpful. If you like this, please like, share, comment, follow for more. Jump in there in the comments if you have questions. I know you can hit up Kristin or myself.
Yep, and I'm happy to put anyone in touch with the district too.
Okay,
Those
cool.
folks are awesome and always ready to help. So
that's one of the beautiful parts about our profession. I think that is just echoed across all the SPRAs in every state is just we share so freely.
Yep.
Nobody holds anything too tightly.
No, if you've got good work, why not help?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Use this. Put your name on it. For free, absolutely. We'll jump in there and we'll help out, and would love to put you in touch with anybody if you have further questions. So it's all we got for now.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you later.
See ya.